This LOS is describe uses of country risk premiums in estimating the cost of equity. Country risk. The use of a stock's beta to capture the country's risks of a project is well supported in empirical studies that examine developed nations. However, beta does not appear to adequately capture country risk for companies in developing nations, or emerging markets. So a common approach for dealing with this problem is to adjust the cost of equity estimated by using CAPM by adding a country spread to the market risk premium. So we're going to add a country spread to the market risk premium. The country spread is also referred to as a country risk premium. If the equity risk premium for a project in a developed country is 4.5% and the country risk premium is 3%, the total equity risk premium used by CAPM estimation is then going to be 7.5%, So perhaps the simplest estimate of the country spread is the sovereign yield spread, which is the difference between the government bond yield in that country denominated in the currency of a developed country and the treasury bond yield on a similar maturity bond in the developed country. However, this approach may be too coarse for the purposes of risk premium estimation. Another approach is to calculate the country risk premium as the product of the sovereign yield spread and the ratio of the volatility of the developing country equity markets to that of the sovereign bond market denominated in terms of the currency of the developed country. So that's a bit of a mouthful there, that last paragraph. We're going to see on the next slide an example of that with a calculation. Again, the LOS here is to describe and not to calculate. So this is just taking through an example where the country equity premium is the product. So that's the sovereign yield fund multiplied by the annualized standard deviation of the equity index divided by the annualized standard deviation of the sovereign bond market in terms of the developed market currency, So again, there's a little bit of a calculation down here, but the LOS is describe, it's not to calculate. Nevertheless, we can go through this fairly quickly. It's the example from the text. Miles Avenant, an analyst with a global company, is estimating a country risk premium to include in his estimate of the cost of equity capital for Global's investment in Argentina. Avenant has researched yields in Argentina and observed that the Argentinian government's 10-year bond is 9.5%. A similar maturity U.S. Treasury bond has a yield of 4.5%. So we have the data for the first part of the calculation. That's the sovereign yield spread, which is the 9.5% minus 4.5%, and that's going to give us 5%. So we've got it right there. The Argentinian government's 10-year bond, 9.5%. Similar maturity U.S. is 4.5%. Now, as I said, I've highlighted some stuff in colors here to follow the ball. The annualized standard deviation of the Argentina stock market, the index, during the most recent year is 40%. So now we've got the numerator here. That's 40%. And the annualized standard deviation of the Argentina dollar-denominated 10-year government bond over the recent period was 28%. So that's what you need for the denominator is 28%. So you put it together, it's going to be 5% times 40% divided by 28%. And we're going to get 7.143% as the country equity premium. Again, you don't need to calculate it, it's described, but sometimes working through an example and the calculation helps you understand any question that they can give you in terms of just words. And that's the last slide for this LOS. Thank you.